Golden Globe is not a race for megastars in superfast boats. It's for ordinary folk with ordinary boats who do extraordinary things. Well, this looks like a good boat to go around the world in. I'm here to talk to Gunnar Christensen. He's been a professional yacht hand most of his life. He knows how it works. And I'm really interested in his choice of boat for this race and interested in the man himself and what motivates him. So I'll say no more. I'm going on board and see if I can dig him out. Gunnar, it looks like this is going to be 250 days at sea, maybe, as long as that. What on earth motivates you to do something like this?
Well, let's hope for 200, 210 days.
Absolutely,
but yeah,
absolutely.
But yeah, you have to plan for longer, don't you? So why on earth would you want to go sail around the world solo? I've reached the point in my life where I really wanted to do some sailing on my own terms. And I grew up and I spent my whole career sailing for others and getting paid, sometimes well to do it, and, made a career out of it. But one thing I realized now that I'm 59 years old, I realized I've never done anything on my own terms. And now that I've reached this point in my life, I thought now's the time to do it. And I actually was thinking of the Global Solo Challenge, the one Cole Brower did, and it's a round the world race, but it would be really hard for somebody like me, who's just an ordinary sailor, to go drum up funds for a faster boat. I mean, let's be honest, it'd be great to go around the world a lot quicker than 250 days. But this Golden Globe race is an achievable race to do for normal folks because it's normal boats. And I was sailing with a client. I used to work at Concept Yachts, the old Discovery Yachts Yard.
Oh, yeah.
And he, this client, we spent a lot of time. I did a transatlantic with him, and he said, listen, you need to do the Golden Globe race because that race generates a lot of interest. You can probably find some funding, and they're affordable boats. So that's how it steamrolled. And I thought, oh, okay, yeah, the Golden Globe race, I can wrap my head around boats like this because this is kind of how I grew up.
So that's a good choice of race. And I'm pretty sure, looking around me, you've made a good choice of boat. But why? Why do you want to be out there on your own for all that time? I've never done that, and I've never felt the desire to. And I'm fascinated by what goes on in your head, really, Gunnar.
Well, this client paid for my entry fee. So guess what?
No,
I have to do it, right? So he was very kind and did that. And that really did spur me on because if I'm going to do something sailing that's fairly epic, I'm not really a cruiser. I don't think I don't mind going to France and sailing around, but around the world through the Panama Canal in the Pacific, I don't think that's me. Mm. So if I'm going to do a big epic voyage, it's something like the Golden Globe that's what ticked that box. And it has to be epic because let's be honest, I'm 59. Yes, I have hopefully many more years left, but to jump around a boat going around the world, I probably don't have much time where I'd want to go do that. So that's why.
Yeah. Yeah. So really, would it be right to say that you have almost a philosophical need to cast a girdle around the earth?
Yes. Yeah, I think it is. I do want to achieve that. Let's, like a lot of people who have these dreams, on my father's bookshelf was Chichester's Gypsy Moth Circles the Globe. On A World of My Own, Sir Robin Knox Johnson. It's always been in the back of my mind. And, I'll be honest with you, I became a bit jaded with working on yachts like I have my whole life because it became a bit of a job.
I can understand that.
Yeah. And I moved here 10 years ago and Lymington, we're here in Lymington, a center of yachting. My passion for sailing it came right back. And I just realized how much I love it. Yeah. And, I think that's where the passion comes from for this race is being planted in my head from reading these books from many years ago when I was a teenager.
It is interesting how books affect us, isn't it? I was driven out there by reading Deep Water and Shoal by Bill Robinson.
Yes.
At a very early age.
That's
and
great.
I thought I could do that, I could have this dream. Mm. And that's the way it works for people like us. So that's a good answer. That answers that. Tell me about the race itself. I don't want a blow-by-blow account, but essentially, What's the ethos of it? How does it happen?
So, top of the hour. So,
8 bells.
8 bells, there we go. Sorry about that. So we have this race that Don McIntyre wanted to recreate the 50th anniversary of Sir Robert Knox Johnson's Golden Globe race from 1968. He was the first one to go solo around the world nonstop and finished in 1969. And, it's just amazing that man had walked on the moon by that point, and no one had sailed solo nonstop around the world. So what an achievement. Don McIntyre, the adventurer, quite a sailing background that he's had, said, let's start a race in 2018 for the 50th anniversary with the same technology. So we have single sideband radio, celestial navigation only. The modern conveniences, if you want to call them, are safety. We don't lack anything as far as safety goes. It's very stringent because of the Southern Ocean. So we do have all the modern conveniences for that. And we keep all the great capes to port. So Cape of Good Hope with a photo drop, which is brings back what Bernard Moitessier did.
Yep.
With his film canisters. He would slingshot them onto passing ships. And so we do the same in that spirit, which our modern way of doing that we are allowed GoPros. So we have SD footage that will be dropped off. So yeah, we continue around, and another photo drop in Hobart, Tasmania, around Cape Horn, which by then the fleet probably will be well thinned out, and back up South Atlantic and North Atlantic to finish again in Sable d'Olonne.
Okay, the communications question is of great interest to me, because I remember going off in the 1970s and we didn't have any communications. You slipped your lines and off you went, and 2 months later you arrived in bottom of South America, and maybe you sent your dad a postcard.
Yeah.
And in between the two, nobody knew where you were.
Right.
And if you came unstuck in the middle, you had to drown like a gentleman. And that was it, really. So you mentioned the safety aspect of things at the comms. To what extent do you have daily access to these things, and to what extent are they locked away until you need them? And how much daily communication are you allowed?
So we do have a satellite phone that we have to have charged and on. Mm-hmm. That is only programmed to race headquarters. So if they need to reach you for any reason, they can. Mm-hmm. There might be an interview with the BBC. They said, hey, the BBC would like to call on such and such a time. And you also have to do a weekly call-in that's streamed on Facebook Live on the satellite phone. So that is only programmed to race headquarters. VHF radio, we are allowed to call ships. Yeah. And if I wanted to get a position or weather report from a passing ship, I'm allowed to do so. Okay. Just like you would in 1968. Yeah. And I forgot to turn the VHF off. I did.
That is real, isn't it?
Yeah, it is real. So you can see all the comms over there. There's the single sideband radio, and I have another HF radio as well.
So talking to ships, I'm interested that it's all right to ask them for a weather report, because that's one thing that people never had in Knox Johnston's day, and my day really. All you could do was read your barometer, log it, and look at the run of the sea and anything else you could find, the clouds, and make your own assessment of what was happening. Turn with your back to the wind. Yeah. Use Bars-Ballard's law, see if you can find out all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But you don't see that many ships, really, do you?
No, it's interesting, isn't it? Because when I did my transatlantic coming up, when I bought this boat a year and a half ago, I was amazed. In the North Atlantic, I didn't see many ships. I went 2 weeks without seeing a ship. Late 80s, early 90s, weather reports actually were on high seas forecasts on the single sideband radio were very prevalent. Yeah. And weather facts, which I have as well, which you're allowed weather facts, was quite handy. But really, they were, because of Starlink, they're doing away with a lot of high seas forecasts on single sideband. Yes. Now, that being said, we are allowed to call shore stations, and they're not allowed to do any route predicting for us, but they can say in 3 days this low pressure system will be in this location.
Can you, off your weather facts as it stands, for what it's worth, can you download a synoptic chart?
Yes, you can, if you can get the stations. The stations are are a lot less than they used to be 20, 30 years ago.
I see.
I just installed mine. So it'll be interesting to see what I get. But from what I understand from the previous competitors, as long as you have the correct antennas, you can, the important things, Azor's high. Where's that when you're coming back so you can try to circumnavigate that.
Yeah,
and
you don't want to be in the middle, do you?
don't want to get through that. So
Throwing the horses over the side.
yeah, exactly. Southern Ocean is pretty few and far between.
Well, I'm very interested that you can access this information, albeit not exactly like the man tuning into his Starlink, but you can get it, because that is a colossal advantage over what we didn't have.
It's huge.
Yeah, I understand you're allowed to make person-to-person calls as well for friends and family or something like that.
No, you're not. Not.
Oh, you're not?
Nope. That
Good.
was. I think that was allowed in the last 2 editions. And there, too much information was
I
being
can
given
imagine.
out.
Yeah. Also, you know, emotionally, this is all about being self-reliant, isn't it?
Yes.
About being there on your own, master under God, and that's it.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's an important aspect. When I came across 4,000 miles on this boat, I did have a Garmin inReach. I didn't like hearing the ping come in.
Well, that's great. So, I mean, you're right in the spirit of it, aren't you?
I am. I'm lucky I'm old enough that, pre all this satellite communication, and there are a lot of young competitors doing this race, which is great.
And they've been born with it, haven't they?
And a lot of them are big influencers on YouTube, so they do have a great presence online. I wonder how they're going to detox from being able to have that instant access to the internet.
And the likes of you and me, not knowing exactly where we are, that's how it always was, isn't it? And it's perfectly all right. I mean, you can lose your longitude because your watch has gone out. So it happened to us once, and we ended up running our latitude down to Barbados.
Yes.
Well, what's the problem?
Yeah, what's the problem?
You're going to get there, aren't you? Doesn't matter when. Okay. Look, I wanted to see the boat, really.
Yeah,
I want
let's
to see
have a look.
what you're doing with the boat. Can we go and have a look?
Absolutely. Let's do that.
Yeah. Well, wandering around the boat, Gunnar, she just looks like a well set up cruising boat until you approach the Galley. And look at what's happened here. This is radical. Tell me about this.
Yeah, what's missing? The boat came with a wonderful Taylor's stove, and you probably know the Taylor
paraffin
fuel
stove.
Paraffin, exactly. Yeah. You know, I used it in Trinidad, and for a few days before I left, and it just was quite a large pain in the neck.
Yes,
honestly,
I think they are.
Yeah,
too.
they are.
Yeah,
and as beautiful as it is, it went on eBay, and off it went. And so now, this really, if you're racing a jet boil, because look, I can wedge myself in right here and just have the jet boil going in rough weather, and I've got the sink right there. And I'll also use a camp stove as well. Probably would make a gimbal for it down there in case I want to fry something up as well. But really, freeze-dried food and the jet boil, and then some canned food that I can heat up as well. So
what powers this?
it's just these gas canisters.
Oh,
Yeah, so...
blimey.
yeah.
You got lots of those.
Yeah, you know, believe it or not, the mini globe race, which is happening right now, which is another Don McIntyre race, the competitors who are using these are using a lot less than they thought as far as the canisters go. So I'm actually checking off, because this is brand new to me, how many times I get a boil out of it. So I'll keep track of that. So the Galley is just so simple. There's no refrigeration. There's just a lot of storage under here.
Yeah.
Food storage, as you can imagine, is going to be the most important consideration. Luckily, there's a lot of storage on this boat. So if I mix it up with freeze-dried foods, and as you probably can attest to, the French canned food is very good.
Yes, it is.
So I'll be experimenting with some of that, because I think variety is going to be really important. When I did my transatlantic, I had just basic food, and 2 weeks in, I said, "What's it going to be for dinner?" "Oh, peas and carrots again." And then the next day, so I lost too much weight, and so it's going to be important to keep the calories in.
You've got to fancy it, haven't you? You've got to look forward to it and fancy it.
And what I like today, I might not like 2 weeks in. So I think having that variety, and I have Expedition Foods. It's good. I'm really pleased with the taste, and they're really good at knowing the calories you need and the rest of the vitamins and minerals that you'll need for the trip.
That's great, because what people very often don't think about is if you're on a trip and it's going to take 200 days, that's a measurable part of your life on Earth.
Yes.
It is a proportion of the days you have under the heaven.
Yes.
And you don't want to be just surviving, do you? You've got to live these days, and food's so important.
So important. And, people ask, what are some of the most catastrophic things that's happened in your career on the water? And there are two major things that were really probably the most awful things that can happen to somebody. 2 weeks into a transatlantic, we ran out of coffee. And I said, no worries, I'll have tea. And I had a chef on board this large sailing yacht. And he didn't drink coffee. He didn't drink caffeine. So there was no tea, no coffee. Can you imagine? Horrible. The other one was no chocolate. On my last transatlantic I did with a client. His wife decided, we're not going to have chocolate because it's going to melt because we're going to the Caribbean. I thought, how do you do a transatlantic without chocolate?
No, not easy. Well, I'm sitting in the navigatorium here, and this is a proper treat. You've got your safe in here, aren't you? You're not going to go anywhere. It's great. But listen, I love this because this is a boat in progress, isn't it? And we're surrounded by kit. Spares everywhere. And tell me about the spares you carry in the toolkit.
Well, this boat has already gone around the world, and people lived on it for 15 years. So you wouldn't believe the spares I've actually pulled off the boat. I've raised the waterline that much, which is great for speed. You'd be surprised, actually, because I'm racing around the world. As far as spares go, on such a simple boat, I probably wouldn't carry as many as you might think because I'm concentrating on sailing the boat. And what's there to fix? There's no hot water. There's no water makers. I don't have a lot of working components, which is great. So I will carry some spare rigging. Not allowed Dyneema. You can have it in a sealed package. If you lose your rig and your jury rig, you're allowed to use Dyneema.
Okay.
But it has to be in a sealed rig.
And once you break the seal, have you technically retired?
You probably would get a penalty for that.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the notice of race, which is 63 pages for that. I will have some extra wire on board, usual shackles, block and tackle. I'm thinking of carrying a third spinnaker pole. You're mandatory to have two. Of course, downwind, you need... Some people have lost their spinnaker poles, so I thought maybe I'll think about carrying another spinnaker pole. And then it's just usual nuts and bolts and things, and I'm sorry about the mess here, but
no.
There's a lot going on.
I love to see it. The old gerber in the corner there. And all sorts of interesting things from Spinlet. I don't even know what they are. This is great stuff. What?
Yeah, I don't know where they were on special, so I bought them, of course. So, why not?
Yeah.
I'm a little bit of a pack rat, which you have to be sometimes on a boat. And we're going to rewire the whole boat. So,
look at that.
Lots of bits.
That's an all-American piece of kit.
That's all American.
When I bought my boat from America, it had one of these on it.
Yeah.
And it's brilliant. It's got everything on it.
It does. For navigating, it's a big chart table, which is, you don't find them on New Genoes and Beneteaus. I'm not going to poo-poo those boats. Everyone has a purpose for those boats, but this is a good proper chart table for wedging yourself in and doing the celestial sights, which of course is the only way that we figure out where we are. And I'm lucky enough I started pre-GPS, so I was able to, it's coming back to me.
So tell me about your sextants.
I have a C Plath that
lovely.
My uncle was in the Merchant Marines, and so early 1970. He was lucky enough to be on a large ship that was being decommissioned as a cadet. And funny enough, one of the sextants walked away. Who knows what they were going to do with those sextants? It's currently in the post coming over from the States.
Well, that's the best way to get a sextant. I have a Hewson proper job.
Yes.
1942. And that came out of the Merchant Navy in World War II.
Yeah.
With the father of a man who ran a sailing school where I was chief instructor in 1972. And when I told him I was sailing away to Brazil and I had a plastic sextant, he said, well, that won't do. He said, I'll never use this. You'd better have this one. We're just on our way to the foredeck here, and I tripped over the shroud, as I always do when I'm going for it, big, wide shoulders. But listen, I'm so delighted looking at this rig. I think this is the strongest rig ever devised by man. It's a single spreader masthead rig with two sets of lowers coming well forward. They're a long way forward and aft.
Yes.
and a couple of good caps, and it's absolutely marvellous.
It is, and what I really like are the chain plates. They're right there. You
Yeah.
can just see the chain plates.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I looked at a Tradewind 35, I looked at a Biscay 36,
Yeah.
and they're good boats. They're blue water boats,
Yeah.
but the deck attachments, the chain plates, were, I thought, a bit weak. And every single competitor who has those boats do rebuild the chain plates. No need here.
Have they got inside chain plates?
Inside chain plates, yeah.
My boat's got those,
Yeah.
and the same thing happens. Good boat, built by the
Yeah.
same yard as this.
Yeah.
But the chain plates are down there. There's no oxygen in there. You get a little bit of salt water in,
Yeah.
and nibble, nibble, nibble.
Yeah, exactly.
Off they go. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, these are good.
Yeah.
So that being said, I did have this rig inspected. It's original from
Yeah.
1979.
Wow.
And it got a good bill of health, but it really, going around the world, it's time for a new rig. So
I think it
I'll
is.
get a new
Yeah.
Selden rig.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'll add running backstays, and I'll probably go up one diameter size on the rig.
Now, this is interesting because, as I understand it, there are two ways of thinking about this. Somebody's thought this out and they've decided what gauge this needs to be. And the important thing is the tension on the rig, rather than necessarily its inline strength. And if you go to a bigger diameter, you have to put more strength on it to get the same amount of movement.
It is. I've heard that argument too.
So you're putting more compression on the mast. Have you heard about this?
I did hear about this. So, you know, Tapio Leightonen's boat sank in the last race, sadly, because benign day, Indian Ocean, they think it just went clip, and it was Italian built, Sparkman and Stevens, beautiful boat, but he had massively oversized rigging, and they think the tension possibly on the rig just caused a stress crack in the hull, and it sank. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, that's something to talk to the riggers about, isn't it?
Yeah,
But,
definitely.
So what's happened about this?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It wasn't my design. It was designed for a Biscay 36, and Alan Lillywhite, to give him a little credit, he's a skipper in the 2030 Golden Globe race. He made this as a prototype for his Biscay 36.
Is this the actual one?
This is the one
it
that,
fits.
and he, well, with some modification.
Yeah,
It's almost fits. So
Yeah, great.
it'll come off after the race. So I didn't make it look very pretty, but it's going to be functional, and I'll build a better enclosure for it. But you can imagine, and I know you know this from all your sailing, that just having storm boards in and a hatch, and you wouldn't have the spray dodger up because if it's blowing 40 or so, you're vulnerable getting in and out. You have to come up and out. So it's just much better to be able to just come out right directly into the cockpit without opening any hatches.
And storm tactics. There's bound to be storms on this trip, aren't there? Certainly in the Southern Ocean, right probably behind you. What are you going to do?
I've gone bare-poled before, and I've never been in the Southern Ocean, but I have on some...
Well, you've crossed the North Atlantic.
Yeah,
You
North
must have
Atlantic.
been bare-poled.
Yeah, so...
God knows, yeah, so...
And I've trailed warps once, and as you saw below the boat, I've got two sets of warps in case I need to get rid of one. The way they're stowed, they can come right out the hatch and through the hawse that's just behind me on the bulwark.
Beautiful, those
Big
hawses.
one, isn't
That's
it?
gorgeous.
So I'm not even going to worry about reinforcing it because it's so strong.
Me, why would you? Yeah.
So talking to past competitors, interesting tactic, Guy Waits. He always ran his off one side of the boat. And of course, I have a lot of gear off the back of the boat.
Yeah.
You don't want to run a bridle with the warp.
Robin reckons a bite of line, doesn't he?
He did a bite, but bite of line is another, it wouldn't get in the way. But Guy Waits said, no, I just ran it off of one side.
I see, yeah.
And so when you're going down the wave, it comes off and you're just going down on a bit of an angle, which is a little bit better, isn't it? The other option is, Bernard Montessier's theory was just run with it. Speed is your friend. And Mark Sinclair on the last race, Captain Coconut, he would run the warps with an old tire, a bit of chain, and a swivel. Yeah. And you just keep the tires stowed down below.
Yeah.
And I thought, I've never used that. I thought, well, why not? I'll try that.
Well, tires are available at the popular price in every scrapyard.
They are, aren't they? So I'll get the French ones in Sauve de Lone.
Oh yeah,
they'll be really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my my idea with the storm tactics, being able to just stay below and secure, and run with it.
Yeah, and of course with a heavy boat like this and a lot of wetted area, she's not going to go tearing away and surfing at huge speed at the drop of a hat, is she?
No, I don't think so.
It's going to be really serious before that happens.
Yeah, and you know, I'll emphasize again, I was just amazed that not just a generation or so, we've now gone to this, which, you know, no offense, it's a great boat for what it does.
Yeah.
But if you want to go world cruising and have a good boat, full keel is just fantastic.
Yeah, the boat will look after herself.
Yeah.
Long after you've run out of steam.
Yes.
Brilliant. Gunnar, that's been absolutely great. I've learnt a great deal talking to you today. You never stop learning, and that's been terrific. So I think we should go and have some lunch.
Let's do it. That sounds great.
Let's call it a day and have some lunch. That'll do.